Shifters, what happens when life forces you to slow down? Listen, on this episode of Shift Chats with my girl Angela Mallet, we're talking about strategic visioning, building a blueprint for your best life. And trust me, this conversation is so powerful. I mean, we're diving into resilience after a stroke, the dangers of running on empty, and the importance of giving yourself grace while on this journey of entrepreneurship. If you ever felt like you're pushing too hard without a clear direction, this episode's for you. Tune in and let's shift together. Remember, the shift is happening now. Welcome to Shift Chats with our guest, Angela Mallet of Honeybee Sage Wellness and Apothecary. Well, welcome to Shift Chats with our special guest here. We're on location in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the first time. So I want to welcome Miss Angela Mallet.
Thank you for having
of
me.
Honeybee Sage Apothecary to the building.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me, my sister.
How you feeling?
Beautiful.
Good.
I feel great. I feel good, like God with an extra O.
Oh,
you understand? I love it.
Come on now,
That's what my brother Truman would say all the time.
Yes.
I'm good, like God with an extra.
We're not gonna talk about him because I had left him a message, honey. I'm still
Truman. Where's my camera?
Fresh.
Look into the camera. Truman.
Anyway, let's stay focused.
Yeah.
Listen, we're gonna be cutting up.
Okay.
Today I wanted to talk about many things. You and I came together at the Sherman Phoenix. What is it? Almost 8 years now.
This year will make 7. So 8,
7.
If we can include the planning and
the
all
pre-planning
the stuff before.
Yep.
Yeah. So about 8 years we've been acquainted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had the apothecary in the vault.
In the bank vault.
At the Sherman Phoenix.
Yes.
Now y'all had to do y'all research and do a little history on that because that was an amazing time.
Yes.
Look, I'll get emotional talking about that because we did so many great things.
We did. God was present with us as we started in that space and helped so many of us position ourselves to manifest our dreams, and here we are today. So I'm grateful for the space that was and is the Sherman Phoenix.
Right, and we are the alumni.
We are the alumni.
Yes, we are the alumni.
We grew and flew, you know, and so that was the intention of that time, and I'm so grateful for the founders of that space. Just a beautiful moment in time, and beautiful to reflect upon as we sit here. So great.
We got our wings. Oh, child. Oh, God.
Yay, God.
Listen, started with prayer. Okay, we gonna focus.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all y'all know I got my tissue here. Now. Y'all already know. I don't play. Listen, sponsored by Kleenex. Exactly,
because we're gonna need it. I know I'm gonna need some in a minute. So
listen, I know a couple of episodes ago, we were doing some video back in Houston, and the video guy was like, "Are you crying already?"
And is.
Honey, when the spirit comes,
you gotta let it flow.
And I always say that my tears are of joy.
Yes.
Of all of the goodness. And see, this is why I don't wear makeup.
Yep.
Anyway, okay, let's get started.
Yeah.
I asked you to send a picture. I asked all the guests to send a picture. So the question I have for that picture is, what would you say to little Angela about
don't be afraid. And whenever you feel afraid, have courage and be kind.
I love that. Don't be afraid. Do you feel like now you have moved to doing it afraid?
Yep. And so it's interesting. I'm in a leadership program. Shout out to the African American Leadership Program, Milwaukee. Um, and stage time is leadership time, is what we say in that program. And in our last session together, we talked about like what would be the title, what is the brand of your leadership? And I thought immediately I wanted to be known as a courageous leader, because whatever I have done, whatever that perspective is from the onlookers, um, I think sometimes it looks easier than it is. And sometimes it looks like I'm just like out here. When I say sometimes to people that I guess I would probably be considered more of an ambivert, right? Like I do need time to reflect and to recharge alone when I've done a lot of peopling. But when I'm peopling, I can people. I learned how to flex, right? Yeah, I can flex a little bit, but in a minute, I need a minute. I need a minute. I need a minute. If I need to step outside, step into this bathroom, something, I need it, or step into the space with a person that doesn't feel so energetically or emotionally charged. Um, so I think a lot of times when I describe who I see myself as and my personality, people like, girl, what? And I'm like, you have no idea what's going on in here as the action is taking place. So I definitely have moved to a space. I'm moving to a space. It's a constant journey for me of embracing courage in the face of fear. Um, yeah, I definitely. So it's not that there's not any fear, there's not any apprehension, but I'm like, hey, do it anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that because I feel like oftentimes that happens where people on the outside are looking in and they have all these assumptions and not knowing or think, oh, because you're put together and you have some things and you running a business that one, you can't have fun. Like we can have fun, we can turn up, we can do all the things, but also we know, there's a time and a place. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that you brought that up because I feel like I have continued to just recently I had went out with a peer and she said, well, I can't even remember. It was something to do with like listening to a certain type of music or something. And she was like, yeah, I wouldn't see you as doing that. And I was like, why? And I was like, I listen to the best of them, honey. Some Tupac or some jazz music, some Louis Armstrong. Like I'm well diverse in I can listen to, it depends on
Anything.
Yeah.
My friends call me and I answer the phone. They're like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Hanging the game, banging."
See?
And so when I do that with people who
They ain't
don't know
ready.
me, they're like, "What?" They crack up. I grew up on the east side of Milwaukee.
Yes.
And my grandmother lived on the east side of Milwaukee, and so that was like the home that was solid, that was stable. Like my parents moved us from North Lawn to Mississippi and then back. So, but my grandmother would be the home that I say is like
Okay.
my home in Milwaukee, and so we were on Holden and Chambers. It was a lot of G's over there. You understand? So jokingly, like I
Right.
never really took on that life.
Yeah.
But
But
it's
you was
just
immersed and
I
you
was
was
in
in it.
I was in
We was
it.
in
You
it,
know,
yeah. Because I
my
was on
brother were
27.
friends with some of the OGs. You know, for real, for real. And so for that reason, like I was little sis, and so though I never got caught up in that lifestyle, I definitely know. I know some real G's. You better know it. And so when I say hanging and gang banging, I know something about it. But it's just funny because I like to say that to people sometimes because it breaks the ice, because I think a lot of people, and I appreciate, I'm honored by the reverence that people have for me based on how I present or what they think of me, but I also want people to know that I am very much touchable.
Yeah.
Like
And
I'm
human.
sacred, right?
Yeah.
You got to handle me with some grace and thought, care.
Yeah.
But I'm the same OG.
Yeah. Let's talk more about that because
Yeah.
I feel like you and I have that similar struggle of like how do we balance like being like we can be all things. Like I don't want to be put in a box. I want to be able to be my most authentic self, and that means I might be hanging a gang banging. That means I might be sipping on a little tequila or something. So I feel like it's important that people can see that, like, we're human beings, and you shouldn't. No one should feel like you have to just be a certain way, because that's not reality. And I feel like that's how some people get depressed. That's how some
Yeah.
people, go into hiding because they feel like they can't be.
Yeah. And I've recently given myself permission to not have to be so postured all the time. And
That's a good.
it's not
Thank you.
even that
Thank
I
you.
felt like it was a demand of people. It was just, I'm very intentional about how I show up, what I put out into the world. And I think for me, growing up with a father who dealt with addiction and alcoholism, and I think at points I would say was very reckless with his emotions. I have made an intention of um, being very careful about how I come across. Even like I have to be poised even when I'm angry. And so I think, yeah, right. And so now I'm like, okay, the trauma has taken its course, and it has made me very aware of other people's feelings, very aware of how my behavior, how my emotions, my emoting may affect another person. And so with that awareness, I feel like I definitely have come to a place where I'm welcoming myself to come back to the middle so that I can embrace all parts of myself, because Angela feels anger, she feels sad, she feels disappointed, she feels apprehension, she feels fear, all of those things. And so I'm very mindful to, in my intimate, my immediate circle, to surround myself with people who understand that, allow me to be God and divine and grace and all the things, and be human at the same time without penalizing the days that I feel human, and am not necessarily my best self. I'm the best self that I have for that day, but it's not the best of me. And so I think that I'm just becoming more intentional about the community that I've created around myself, that I partake in, and giving myself permission to just be
Yeah,
sometimes.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Just be. Y'all got
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Just be.
B
I
B
love it.
E E. We're gonna put, you see what I
Ah!
did there? Yeah. No pun intended.
Put the B
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to get into a couple of questions. This is going really good
Yeah.
already. First question, um, because I feel like we touched on being at the Sherman Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
and there was something that happened at the Sherman
Yeah.
Phoenix, with you and your health. You don't
Yes.
mind
Yeah.
sharing a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say you had a stroke.
Yeah.
So my question is, how did that moment shift your perspective on life, success, and self care?
You gonna go there?
Oh,
Okay. Let's go. Let's go.
because I think it's important for people to understand, so you can take your breath. I think it's important for people to understand that as entrepreneurs, we work really, really, really hard, right? And sometimes we make it look really, really, really easy, right? But you don't see like the behind the scenes and the cause. And we've had conversations about this where, like, we have assistants now, and you know my assistant had to call her assistant for us to get here today. You know what I'm saying? And we're here. But I think that, for me, that situation happened. I was traveling with my daughter, and some of her friends, for my birthday last year, Dubai, and they saw me working, because when I travel, I still have to work. Like, it doesn't go away, because she travel a lot, but she still be working. What I'm trying to get to is the point where I don't. I can really take a real vacation. But anyway, I digress. So in that, on vacation, they're watching me, right? And they're both like, "Yeah, you need an assistant, because is going on,
Doing a lot.
right?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the phone. I'm got the laptop.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have worked to manage it, and you have to now.
Yeah.
But before,
Yeah.
so go into the stroke.
So before I moved home in 2017, and a friend of mine, at the time, we were planning to build Honeybee Sage out together. It was a different name at the time. I feel like it was Soul Apothecary or something like that. Might even be on some of the first documents, in engaging with the Sherman Phoenix. And once she decided to go in a different direction, I decided to name the apothecary Honeybee Sage Wellness and Apothecary because that was the name, the brand that I was embracing prior to us coming together in my massage practice. And so um, I was looking forward to having a partner. And for her, for whatever reason, our partnership dissolved and she went in a different direction. Um, so moving forward, I was doing a lot of things by myself, having to make some decisions, and
That would have been partnership.
that would have been
things.
partnership.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I really valued the idea of having a partner. And so just before the Sherman Phoenix opened, before we opened for the grand opening, like physically open the doors, I did engage with an investor that I immediately started naming as a partner. And that was not wise. I did not have enough information. I don't believe she had enough information. If I
On
go back to it
partnering
on
and all the
partnering,
things, yep.
like what that should look like. And so that partnership was a little tumultuous. It ended up dissolving. It was tumultuous for me, I can say. Um, and so it ended up dissolving. But a month or less after we opened our doors in the Phoenix, my dad went into the hospital for what was a 3.5, almost 4 month long transition, where he passed in April of 2019. And so shortly after that, I made the decision to dissolve the partnership and the relationship with that investor. And so that was tough for me because what I've been discussing or realizing lately, that my threshold for pain or discomfort has been way too high historically. And so rather than address something or confront something sooner than later, I have a tendency to muster, like hold a lot. And so I was, oh my God. And so it's implosive. You know, you have a lot of people, like I would describe my dad was there, definitely very explosive. If he was feeling away, you was gonna feel away. You ain't gonna know, you gonna feel it too. Like you gonna feel the vibration in the room. And and so I was implosive. So I'm carrying the burden of that. I'm carrying the burden of being the power of attorney for my dad's health care, opening a new store. So I'm balancing,
Trying to.
trying to balance
you
a whole
was.
lot, right?
But the body said,
Body keeps score. And so
say it
April
again.
3rd, the body keeps the score.
Yes.
April 3rd, my dad passed away, and I moved through that process, and I thought I was handling it very well. My dad, I love my dad to life. Like I even though he dealt with some of the issues he dealt with, like I knew that he loved me. Even if it wasn't in um the way that I feel now that I deserved, he loved me the best that he could, right? And so I honor him, his life and his transition in that fact. He loved me, he loved my brother, he loved his kids, he loved his family. So with that, him transitioning probably stirred up a whole, I know it stirred up, it stirred up a whole lot that I had to move through in planning a funeral, planning, moving along with my business, continuing to engage in this partnership that was trying for me. Just a lot happening. So the night before I had the stroke on June 1st, I'm a doula as well. So that means I help women with emotional, spiritual, physical support through the labor and delivery process. Yeah, all good. Don't worry about it. That's why look at God just it brought that in here. So no, so and so I that day before, the mother that I was with, typically you would come along with an emergency doula, somebody who can come. Something should happen to me, or the labor goes long and I need to take a break, get some sleep. I didn't do that, and so mom wanted me there for the duration, and it was over 24 hours. So if anybody knows anything about the human body, when you are already pre-hypertensive or hypertensive, anything like that, it just really increases the chances for a medical emergency like a heart attack, stroke, anything like that, if your circadian rhythm, if your sleep is off. And so 24 hours up.
Hey shifters, sorry to interrupt. What I need you to do is hit that subscribe button. You know, the little red button down here at the bottom. Subscribe, like, interact, ask me some questions. Okay, back to the episode.
And I think everything just came crashing down. All of the things that were happening, the burden of opening a new store, getting used to that. I was engaging the community very intensely because we were introducing herbs and herbal medicine, the idea of introducing tea as medicine to folks. And so at the time we have blends now, but at the time I was blending on point. Like you on site, you come in, you tell me you got this going on. I'm grabbing and putting some things together.
Yeah, like the time I came and said, I'm sweating. I got
And we got something together for you,
Perry, Mr. Perry was in the building.
Yeah. We got something for Perry.
We got something for
honeybeesage.com.
Yes.
Seasons change,
Period.
ladies. Okay,
Yes.
they're shameless
What is
plug.
it called?
Seasons change.
See?
Because they indeed do.
They do.
But so yeah, so I'm doing all of that, and it just so I describe that as driving a car, which I used to. I knew just how much time I had as I inched towards the gap. I knew how much time I had before I needed to hit the gas station. But there was one or two times where I misjudged it, right? And then you got to do the walk of shame with the red container, right? The gas container, or call somebody to come get you. And that's what I felt like it was. It was like I was going full throttle and I ran out of gas, and it made me stop. And so now I live with the gift of the stroke, which is consistent, some numbness, a lot of tingling on the right side of my body that gets very intense when I need to sit down. And so whereas, I look forward to the day when that just goes away for ultimate healing. But I realize that it's something that I carry with me that is a gauge now, a physical gauge. It's like, sis, you need to sit down. Like if I'm stressed, if I'm exhausted, I lost because you wouldn't be able to tell now, but I was paralyzed on my right side for 3 days. I thought I was lifting my hand and I was not. I lost words, which for me, like, take me out.
Let me ask you this, and not to cut you off, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
When you were going through that time, because I'm trying to remember some of the,
Yeah.
because, I was in and out. How long did you take off? Because I feel like, there was this buzz that you had a stroke.
Yeah.
And then I feel like you were back.
So how long?
Because I was. So I left the hospital. My grandmother and my mother picked me up from the hospital 13 days after the stroke. Praise be unto God. I was able to walk out of the hospital unassisted. If you did not know me prior to you may have thought I was tired or had something going on, but you wouldn't know. I didn't have a limp. I didn't have the typical things that you would look at a person like, oh, maybe they had a stroke. I did experience the face droop. That was one of the things, the signs that the nurse, when I was, so I knew I was having a stroke. Everybody around me didn't know. So I told them to call the ambulance. I'm having a stroke. And they're like, no, we'll just call the nurse. So when the nurse came over and did a physical assessment, she's like, because I was at an herbalist conference, amongst many women, and those women went up in prayer and positive energy for me. The word spread to everybody. So for me, when people ask how I recovered so quickly, yes, I'm an herbalist, but I was not doing all the things that I knew to do for me at the time. So I won't even.
For most
nurses,
nobody does.
Yep, they don't be doing it. So that's just that.
Yeah.
And so I'm not even gonna say, I
Right.
cured myself, because people want to know, how did you bounce back so fast? It was the grace of God and a whole heap of people.
Right.
Sending one up for their girl, right? And so that is my explanation as to how I recovered so quickly.
Because I remember, and like I said, because I was, in
It's
and
what you
out
remember.
a lot, but like I was like, okay, she had a stroke, but she is here.
I feel like it was like 13 or 14 days.
Like it was a quick turnaround.
So that's it. I was in ICU for 3 days, and probably, I think I was in rehab for about 10 days. So happened that I was in an area where this hospital specialized in stroke recovery. Like I'm up in the woods in Wisconsin, and the hospital, this particular hospital specializes in stroke recovery. So I'm in a rehab facility that is like it's in the hospital, but I'm going like they're giving me occupational rehab, like so I could learning how to brush my teeth, learning how to write, all the things right away. And so the doctors, their report, they thought that I would recover pretty quickly because I was young, and so and I did. But again, I give honor to God for real. I really feel like it was the fact that so many people went up immediately on my behalf. Like it wasn't something that they had to get out there, right? I was in a place with hundreds of women,
Right.
healing women, healer
But like
women.
you said, you feel like that is your reminder when you get the
Yes.
little.
When I'm doing
So
too much.
that and
Yeah.
people can say whatever they want to say about God.
Yeah.
But I feel like he definitely does things
Yeah.
in his way.
Yeah.
So what I hear you
Yeah, but
describing
listen.
is that because now, first of all, you in a place where all the people
Yeah.
are capable of sending up the prayer.
God
right?
is God. Yes.
And then you end up in a hospital.
Yes, that
where-
specializes in stroke.
That specializes in
You say what you
stroke.
want to say.
Right.
Like
Now,
you
he
call
said,
God whatever
I'm
you
gonna
want.
give you this to stroke, ma'am. And then
And then
I'm
what?
gonna send you these little tingling
Yep.
reminders.
Yep. Yeah.
And let's see how this work out.
I'm gonna help you help yourself. Because if it was
Wow.
up to me, I would pour it all out till I was empty.
Yeah.
And then pour some more. You know, and I think that right now I've had to be mindful that you can't pour from an empty cup. You know, that's not a novel concept. That we know that's a thing, right? But as women, nurturers, people pleasers, learning to place everybody else we pedestalize everyone else, right? And we got to do this for the kid, we got to do this for them, we got to do this. And I don't have any children, don't have a husband, but at the time, what I was doing within the apothecary, people would come in from
community.
You
had the collective.
People were coming in from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, like with I got this going on, can you do this for me?
With that, honey?
Listen,
You opened up
yes.
Yes.
Right. So anyway, so you asked me how long I took after those 13, 14 days. My first stop when we got back in the city of Milwaukee, I said, can we just stop by the Phoenix real quick? I just want to go in and see. I just want to go and say hello. I just want to go and check on things. Because Honeybee Sage is my baby. I don't have any physical children, but my business is my baby. It's something that was birthed out of me that I continue to nurture, and she doing her thing. I'm proud of her. But so it didn't take long, and then the fact that I had one honeybee at the time, which would be my team member, my staff. And the day before I had the stroke, she had decided to quit employment with the other person, that the other business she was working for part-time, and come on more full-time with me. So sis held it down. I had been in conversation with a friend who knew that I was transitioning partnership, that was able to help with some of the administrative things. And so Honeybee Sage kept on without a beat. And that is when I knew that this is way bigger than me. And that is also when I knew that foundationally, if I want to build this platform, if I want to build this space up to the point that it can outlive me, I have to be well for that, one. And I also have to form a team. It was so much wisdom that came out of that, because I didn't erect this business for all the vainglory that comes with being a business. Oh, she the owner. It's nice. It's also overrated often when you think about all of the work, the time, the energy, the effort that goes into it, especially if you are putting out a worthy product. So it just let me know that I had to begin to structure my business as a corporation with a succession plan. And before we moved, so we moved to 91st in Lisbon. And before we moved from there to King Drive, where we are now, there's a man who I never met before. He came in and he said, hey, you had to duplicate yourself. And I was like, you're right. And he's like, you know what I mean? He had never met me, and he talked about that. And so I'm so grateful for the team that I have now. that allows me to sit here with you and have this conversation. Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
that actually goes into another one of my questions about the mindset shift in business, and has your approach to business and personal goals, which it sounds like it has changed since your health journey.
Absolutely. So before I moved back to Milwaukee, I am a massage therapist by trade, and I was operating independently a massage practice in Franklin, Tennessee. And when I came back, had a home office out of my space here before we opened the brick and mortar. And sorry, your question. You asked me, oh, how's it? Yes, yes.
And personal goals changed
Yeah.
since the health
Yeah.
journey.
So before I came home, I said that I wanted to be Ray Kroc and the McDonald's brothers.
Say it
So
again.
Ray Kroc and the McDonald's
Okay.
brothers. So I'll give you some. So if you haven't seen the movie The Founder, good movie. Ray Kroc was a little bit rogue. He found the McDonald's brothers doing business, big business on the West Coast, and he got behind them and he was like, "This needs to be a franchise. And so, and they wanted to keep the integrity of the small brother restaurant, and he like, nah, this big business. So anyway, what I said to myself, even before opening the space, that I wanted to be a visionary that could see the possibility for expansion and scaling of the vision, but also one that would not do so if it came at the expense of, let me say that differently, that would only do so if it did not compromise the integrity of the brand, the culture, the vision.
Because
And so
when you say that, not to cut you off,
yeah,
the McDonald's 2 all beef patties, special
special
sauce, lettuce,
yeah,
cheese. I just talked about that in the
yeah,
staff meeting,
okay.
because when you go to McDonald's and you get a Big Mac, you know
You know what it is.
2 all beef patties, special sauce,
Lettuce, cheese,
pickles, onions
on a sesame seed bun. Yeah, right.
Finish your point.
And
I'm
so the
sorry, but
point
I just
was
needed
like,
to,
I wanted it, if
yeah.
we were to grow, I wanted every location that we have. And that's what I've been speaking lately. I had an opportunity to make a statewide pitch on a show called Project Picture. Y'all watch it on April 5th, 10:35 p.m. And that's in the state of Wisconsin that airs. It will be on YouTube afterwards. But I was able to go on that show and make a pitch that we will do for Honeybee Sage what Howard Schultz did for Starbucks. That was a very bold position to take, right? But what I feel, and so we could go so many different places with that, but the approach, how it changed my approach to business was that I am building a corporation and we handle it as such right now, right? And so whereas I knew from the beginning, especially being a single member LLC, that I needed to have accountability, so that I didn't go rogue. If money changes people sometimes, and I say that, and that has been a fear or apprehension of mine. But the fact is, money amplifies people. That's the truth. So who you were before, it amplifies that. And so before, I've been the person that I am now, and I now rest in the fact that I will always be that person because I continue to nurture her. I'm intentional about that. But what the stroke allowed me was the understanding that I needed to build an infrastructure that would outlive Angela, because the gift that I am looking to give and impart into my community is something that is beyond me. Dr. Carter, God rest his soul, like he built an enterprise right on 24th place and Birdline, and it continues to live, right? So
Was that our first black pharmacist? Was he the first?
I'm not. There was some history behind that. I do believe, and he came from
or owner,
Iowa, I believe. It's very very beautiful man. And so my thought was, I want this operation to outlive me, and I want it to bless people long after I'm gone. And because I did have what I would call a near-death experience, because 50% of people who had the type of stroke that I have, a hemorrhagic stroke is where you bleed out, they don't survive it. And the 50% of the people, 50% that do survive it, end up passing later from it. And so I give honor to God. I'm so grateful for still being here, but it changed my approach in the fact I can't carry the weight of the burden of this business. Like it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a business, to keep a business going. And so that was my approach after that, was being intentional about finding team, community that could help me carry this forward.
Okay.
I love that. I love that for you. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. I have another question. I know we're counting on time. I don't know. But I'm gonna get these couple things in because I have some final questions. But I had one of the questions I had was about um friendship and how have you do you feel like you've grown, navigated friendship as you have worked through running a business, being an entrepreneur? Because we've
Woo.
had some chats.
Yeah. Friendship is tricky because, my mom always talks about the fact that she did not have a whole lot of friends. I know her core friends. I know my aunties, the ones that helped her through different times in her life and still continue to be part of her life. But she mentioned that, her sisters didn't have a whole lot of women friends around them. My grandmother didn't. And, so friendship has been an interesting road to navigate for me as a people pleaser, as someone who had that threshold for foolishness and pain and discomfort. And so what I found now, and I literally had this conversation this morning with one of my dear friends, about how important it is to have quality people around you rather than quantity, right? So I know a whole lot of people. It's a joke about, when we go out, my friends like, you don't know somebody, we could go to Egypt and you gonna know somebody. And it's possible.
Right.
I
That's
don't
what the
know.
kids say about me. They be
Yeah,
like, "Do you know
I know a lot of
anybody?" A lot
people,
of people.
and I love a lot of people, and a lot of people. I've had very meaningful conversations and interactions with a lot of people, and I'm here for it. But there are not a lot of people that I would say I find that safe space with, that I feel close to in that way. And so my friend circle has dwindled quite a bit, and it has been fine tuned, so I think I mentioned earlier, like what I value now in my life is being able to be all parts of Angela, without any remorse. I can feel anger. One of my friends, we were going on a trip, we were taking a day trip down to Chicago, and it was a snowstorm the night before, and I didn't want to drive in the snow. I wasn't feeling the confident driver post stroke, and she didn't get gas the night before, so she was supposed to come pick me up. She didn't, and I was so angry because I was so looking forward to that day in Chicago. So I got in my car, got to the train station, because we were catching the train down, and she's standing there smiling. I'm just furious. I'm fuming, and she knows it, and she didn't diminish how I felt. She didn't make me feel bad for feeling angry. She apologized. She gave me time to process through my emotions. We kissed and made up, and we went and had a beautiful day in Chicago. And she became one of my best friends that day. Seriously, that moment alone made me identify that this is somebody
Right.
that's on you, because I could be
Yeah,
that part
because
of
you could
myself.
be in whole space for it because nobody's perfect and we all have
Yeah.
everybody can have a moment.
Yeah.
Everybody can have a moment,
Yeah.
and that is okay.
Yep.
And like you're saying, to be able to sit in that and receive that, and then be able to acknowledge that
Yeah.
this was this experience and this person did for me,
Yeah.
because she did that for you,
Yeah.
so that you could see, girl, I'm gonna be here.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You good. You ain't getting rid of me. And that's what she say all the time.
Exactly.
And I love it. And I
Because
think,
sometimes we will do that. We will like work to self-sabotage a
yeah,
situation if we like,
because
oh,
I'm
I
sorry,
don't
I
really
don't know what she on.
Yeah. So let me find a reason for. But the fact that you could be allowed to sit in that, for her to
Yes.
hold space, is what
Yeah.
the people say now. She
Yeah.
held space for you. in that moment, and I think that's a great thing.
And
So I'm
that's
happy
something
for
that I
you.
value, like being able to be human,
Mhm.
and still be loved.
Yeah.
Being able to be out of character and my character not be tarnished because I had a
Yeah.
moment
Right.
where I fell out of character,
Yeah.
because I was emotional, felt emotion.
Mhm.
And so for me, I'm just very aware now on the word friend means to me,
Yeah.
the values that that person
Mhm.
holds,
Mhm.
and it's been a beautiful journey to navigate,
Yeah.
because it gives me a lot of confidence in the friendships that I
Mhm.
have now, because they're not just happenstance
Yeah.
because we hung out at a party and it was cool,
Right.
and she, there's some terms of
Yeah.
engagement, some rules of
Yeah.
engagement.
And
um
sometimes we have to be allowed that space because I feel like that's what happened for us
yeah,
in our connection that
yeah,
we now have
yes,
was through a mutual
mm-hmm,
party that was like, no, she really is okay. And they was
yeah,
like, no, she really is okay. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
And as we got together and started, it's like, okay, yeah, she is okay. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But
yeah,
I think that sometimes people prejudge
sure.
or they see you with some other people and they're like, hey, oh, I don't know. But
I'm that person that
we're in
can
the
be that way,
yeah,
but I'm learn because of
yeah,
our interaction now. It's funny that I've learned that, and I'm not the one that we talked about this the other
mm-hmm,
day. Person, I'm not the one that's going to unfriend a person because you
yep,
fell out with them.
yeah.
I did that in
Yeah,
high school. I
yeah,
learned that lesson a
yeah.
long
I
time
was just
ago.
gonna make
That's
that
not
point
it
in
at
adult
all.
life.
But
Yeah.
there is a persona that you get by association
Mhm.
sometimes,
Mhm.
and if depending on the person's perspective, like for me, if I see something, I'm like, I'm not really interested in engaging
Yeah.
or exploring that,
Yep.
because the risk
Mhm.
seems a little bit more, they could outweigh the
Yep.
benefit. And so, but I think that this has given our interaction, our engagement, our friendship has given me interest in going beyond that,
Mhm.
not just associating a
Yep.
person with a certain group of people, and throwing the baby out with the
Yeah.
bathwater,
Because it is still a thing that you are guilty by
yeah,
association. So you
yeah,
could be so to the young people out there,
yeah,
you can be depending on that group that you're
yeah,
with. So
yeah,
just keep that in mind. But also I feel like we're in a space where we're now matured
yes,
and the you allow people the opportunity to
yes,
show you who they are.
yes,
And I think in that conversation we talked about now, I'm not can't be your friend if you done slept with our friend
right,
husband
yeah,
or
yeah, we ain't doing
some
all that,
crazy,
yeah.
but we gonna be able to work this thing out.
Yeah,
Okay, let me get to I have three
yeah,
questions, my final
I'm gonna try to be on
questions.
point, succinct with them.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first question is if you could have dinner with 1 to 3 guests, dead or alive, who would they be? And what's one question you would ask?
Oh my goodness. I have recently thought about this question, and I wanted to sit with my grandmother,
Okay.
Arista. I literally just got a memorial tattoo
Oh, nice.
this past weekend, with her signature. And I wanted to ask her if she was truly happy,
Hmm.
if she had dreams that were fulfilled or unfulfilled, and what she would offer me from that reflection.
Hmm.
Um yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so now I gotta ask.
Mm.
Do you feel like she wasn't happy?
She was down, grandma, she was a classy woman,
Mm-hmm.
and she liked to party, she liked to have fun. um so I think she enjoyed her time here. I never knew what her dreams were,
Okay.
and so I think that was the thing, that's the biggest question, like,
Yeah.
what were your dreams? Do you feel like you fulfilled them?
Yeah.
My she actually saw my place finished the Wednesday
Mm-hmm.
before the next Wednesday she passed
Yeah.
away.
I
So
remember
yeah,
that. Yeah.
that was,
Okay.
I feel like hopefully I was able to help her fulfill
Yeah.
some of her
Right.
ambitions.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That's a good question to ask people. I feel
yeah,
like, what is
yeah,
your dreams? I love
yeah.
that. Thank you.
Mhm.
One piece of advice related to healing and or entrepreneurship that you'd like to share.
Mm. Offer yourself grace. there's some of us hold ourselves to a standard of perfection,
Mm-hmm.
and our interaction with other people can be based on our projections of what we think they expect of us, what we think they think of us. And I think that stifles authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can just give yourself grace for being human,
Right.
um, players F up sometime too,
Right.
right? Yeah. If you can give yourself some grace for being
Right.
human, I feel like that's definitely something that I would like to I would offer to my younger self, and to anybody listening. Yeah,
Okay.
grace.
I love it.
Yeah.
One piece of wisdom or a mantra that you live by.
Have courage and be kind.
Have
It's a
courage.
tattoo of mine. I heard it said on Cinderella, the with the real people.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother gave her that advice before she passed away.
Okay.
It said, "Have courage and be kind,"
Wow.
because sometimes you have to. For me, that means even when you are afraid
Mm-hmm.
of a potential a confrontation, afraid of the outcome of something that you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, a dream or vision that feels so much bigger than you,
Right.
have courage and be kind no matter what it is. Even if it's a tough conversation you have to have, if you can have courage, feel the fear, do
Yeah.
it anyway, and be kind, that is something that I feel like I live by, that allows me to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the outcome is different than I hoped, even if the response is different than I would like,
Right.
if I have courage to stand up, to advocate for myself,
Mm-hmm.
to honor the other person, other people
Yeah.
involved in the situation, and I'm kind in that, I can rest in that.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah,
Have courage and be kind.
yeah,
Remember, the
yeah.
shift is happening now.
That was juicy. That was good. God did.